First, there was Dueling Citizens, now Secrets from the Inside. Author Greg Meekin nails it again. Introducing Secrets from the Inside Radio Show. Raw, unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. Secrets from the Inside starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. Got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back, 'cause baby, you're the one.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Just unmute yourself.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it dealing with a pre-dementia guy, right? Yeah, unmute yourself, please, Greg. Hello, hello, hello. It's awesome. I say life is like sports and sports is like life. As much as you plan, as much as you pre-show, as much as you try to get ready for any kind of competition or whatever, it just comes down to the last few minutes, last couple of minutes, sometimes the last second or the last shot or play. So I can't believe I'm so excited to be back on here with you. It's been like a while since we've done True Live.
Yes.
True Live.
Well,
And it's awesome as usual. Secrets from the Inside. Live, always live. Will be re-platformed and shared and everything else in the next week or so. But I just can't wait for the show. I already stole the mic from you, Val, like a puck hog, like a hog, right? You're going to talk a little hockey today, Val. You're going to talk a little hockey. I'll leave you to kind of introduce the show, and you as our awesome facilitator, and I'll sit back. I won't mute anymore. I'll be in dialogue here. I cannot wait for our secret guest. I can't wait for our secret guest. So back to you, Val.
Well, good morning to everyone. Today is October 22nd, 2024, and this is another episode of Secrets from the Inside with Greg Meekin. I am Val Olson, and I will be Greg's facilitator today. This is episode number 0022, and today's show will be an eye-opener for everyone, believe me. As many of you know, Greg Meekin is a one-man band. He's the show's producer, booker, show prep, guy, host, guest, post-production guy, and yes, the sales and marketing guy. Today, we have an amazing secret guest who was on the show exactly 1 year ago. Greg, why don't you introduce today's secret guest?
Oh, very good lead up here, Val. This is great. I got to get in the game here a little bit. I got my referee's jersey on. I have both stripes on today.
Yes.
That's because if you don't, you're not the referee. Right? You're just a linesman. Anyhow, I'm going to talk a little bit of hockey today, no matter what, even if it's against your will, Val.
I will try and keep up.
I'm going to, first and foremost, I'm going to follow my own rule of the original 001 Secrets from the Inside. That was almost 2 years ago, Val. And and we worked together on this. I said, okay, my brand for 35 years has always been tell a secret. Give me a secret. People want secrets. People want to hear new information. Everything in the world's kind of copy paste garbage. By the time you get to the end of the day, you've heard every story 5 times. So what's really cool, because this is live, it's long form. It's scheduled for 59 minutes. Good luck with that. We once, I think, set my YouTube channel record where we started a show targeting 59 minutes, and it was over 3 hours.
Yes.
3 hours and 17 minutes. Our guest was part of that show. She was amazing. And this is really a follow-up to that show from a year ago. My secret guest today is one of my best buddies in the world. Her name's Wendy Tepley. And we go back to high school. and have stayed business colleagues all that time. Imagine where's the time gone? Whenever you're older, you start counting things in decades, not years or months anymore. Oh yeah, that was the 1970s or 80s or whatever. So Wendy and I have that kind of history. We're best buddies. On my YouTube channel, I did a little research today. There's 12 separate clips from that original show. Most of them featuring Wendy with her awesome thumbnail photo. You can find them on YouTube. And there's the full show. Always look on your back on your past work, Val, right? Just to remind yourself. I didn't realize it was on this Sunday. It's going to be 1 year that Wendy was on last time.
Wow, time flies.
So I can't wait. But following again, I digress. Already out of the gate, or as you say, out the gate in Alberta. I'm digressing, but I wanted to reveal my secret for the day. We used to joke, this is your train ticket. This is the currency on this radio show, because it's a radio show. It's a 35-year brand. I did the first Secrets from the Inside, 1992, Tampa, Florida, Val. We'll ask Mark Larson about that someday. But my secret is this. My secret is really a secret about the next guest. The coolest thing, this just hit me this morning. The coolest thing is I go back to Dorval High School in the 1970s, namely 1976. Here we go, right, Wendy? Whenever you get on air, get ready for Dorval High Talk. But what I want to relay is I love being, just as a rule, ahead of the times, 20 years, 30 years ahead. Dorval High School, 1976. We had, and I thought about this today, we had one of the top hockey programs, varsity hockey programs in the country. I got, I think 3-4 buddies went to the NHL. And this was in the 70s before Lake Placid and gold, U.S. gold medals and stuff. We had university recruiters coming up to Dorval and Montreal, all greater Montreal, trying to get us to go to U.S. colleges because American kids couldn't skate. I promise you. My secret about our upcoming guest, Wendy Tepley, and I'll turn it back to you to kind of intro her, Val. But my secret is she played hockey, and long before Title IX and some of the controversy we're having in women's sport these days. Can you believe that garbage? I just can't believe it. But long before that, women in Dorval High School, my senior year, we played a hockey game, our varsity hockey team. A couple of those guys went to the NHL. Against the women's team in Dorval High. They all wore men's skates. They played hockey. They wanted to play hockey. And I'm saying, that's really cool. That's 20 years before Title IX. That's technically 20 years before Cami Granato. Cami Granato is the Wayne Gretzky of women's hockey in the United States. She won a gold medal in 1992, Nagano Olympics. Hello. She carried the flag for the U.S. team. Hello. And by the way, here you go, live radio, Val. I took this out of my closet today. I kid you not. Let me get the camera here. God, I love my own show. I can do whatever I want. There you go. Oh,
look at that.
And what's cool, this, I presented her in Vancouver, British Columbia, in her penthouse. And what's cool, I don't know if I can get it. I'm terrible on camera.
We can see it.
The silver signature at the bottom. She loved it that I had a silver Sharpie with me, and she signed it, and I kept it. And I said, I might have this jersey 20 years from now. And then look at that. That photo right there was Cami Granato before women's sports were cool. She dressed for hockey in the public restroom because they wouldn't allow her in the boys' locker room. She was, here we go, Cami Granato show. Can't wait to get her guest in, though. I was on the ice right there. That's Cami Granato on the ice. I was blessed to have been on the ice at Bremerton Ice Arena. That was 2004. She was stoked about women's hockey, and she ran into a hockey guy that was stoked about women's hockey. Believe it or not, here's the secret. We signed an agreement to bring women's hockey to the Seattle area, professional hockey where they're paid. That was the key. So we spent nice time. Thank you for that photo. Val, you should be a facilitator. You're good at this, the multi-screens and stuff. Turn it back to you. I've blabbered enough. Time to talk to Wendy.
I'm excited to bring Wendy back to the show. It's, like you said, a year ago, almost to the day. So we want to welcome Wendy this morning. That's my doorbell. Good morning, Wendy.
Oh, good morning, Val. Good morning, Greg. Yes, a year goes by faster than you know. Like I said to Greg earlier this morning, I feel like I'm here for my yearly checkup. So
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. We
all
promise
is,
it will
all
be
is well. Loved all the hockey talk, and Greg had prepped me a little bit for it, so I might just jump right into that because no, I was not on that hockey varsity team with Dorval High, but I started playing ringette, which was designed for women, young girls actually, to play hockey. I think it was in the early 60s. It was a fellow, I believe, out of Ottawa who only had daughters. And of course, you couldn't put your daughters in hockey, designed ringette, and the girls played it. So when I first started playing ringette, it was probably 1970. It was outdoors, maybe even before that, maybe even 1968. We couldn't get indoor ice. The guys had all the ice indoors. We played with girl skates with the picks, straight stick and a ring, and maybe a helmet. And I'm not even sure we had gloves, but we played outside for a couple of years until we finally got some time inside the arena. They were the worst times. I can't remember what they were, but it wasn't prime time at Dorval Arena. So that's how I started out, playing ringette. And then I got my girls, when I had children, into playing ringette. And it was only when the opportunities in hockey really started to look a little bit better that we said, let's move the girls into hockey. Right. And of course, that's when Mom had to take up hockey. I was still playing ringette at that time, running teams. There's fabulous programs for ringette. Right. Tournaments in Ottawa called the Silver Spoon. If you won it, you got this little spoon you could put on your keychain, looked like you were doing drugs, but it was really for winning the tournament. I still have my silver spoon. And so that's how I got into hockey. I'd never actually skated on boy skates. So kind of learned the whole skating over in probably the mid 90s is when I started playing hockey. And my girlfriend from Ringette said, I've signed us up for hockey camp. You're going to love it. This was in the summer at a rink, Bonaventure Rink on Côte de Liesse. If anybody listening from Montreal knows. Had some unsavory parts, the Bonaventure Rink, really unsavory. I have got a lot of stories there, but if we get back to hockey, I showed up the first night of this summer camp, and who was coaching us? This is the opportunity, was the women's coach for the McGill women's team. Uh-huh. They were called the Marlets. And the helper, young girl, she probably was not quite 18, stood probably 6'2" on skates, center man with a wicked slap shot. She showed us how to hit the middle of the net from the center ice. And her name was Carolyn Willette. And she went on to play on the Canadian Women's Olympic team. And I think she became the captain eventually. She played many Olympics. I'm not sure if she's still part of the Canadian Women's Olympic hockey program, but what a thrill to watch somebody who has taught you how to pin people on the boards, how to really play the game. It wasn't wussy, let's have the ladies have some fun. This was full on contact, how to do slap shots, how to take your stick and pin somebody against the board and use your other hand to poke the puck out. So
that was the cool part. Keep that train of thought. But that was the cool part. This was the 1970s, and you evolved in the 90s. Yes. But you played hockey. I mean, you're probably 1% less of the population, whatever. You're a woman that played hockey. And again, I love it before the times. It's like soccer. When soccer evolved, so that gals were included, and gals were as good as the boys, especially in elementary school and stuff. But how beautiful it was, again, before the copy-paste talk. I want you, if you could, take a minute, but keep that train of thought. I definitely want you to talk a little bit of hockey. I don't don't know if there might even be a photo there or something that's reflective on hockey there, but, and we're going to get to our subject matter whenever, right?
Yes.
Whenever we're in the mood here, it's going to be great. But reflect, if you would, Wendy, you went back to playing ringette. Okay, nobody, especially no one knows what that is, I'm sure. But that really included so many gals, especially at really any age. You can play ringette at any age. But the cool thing about the 70s, again, Montreal Dorval High gals, is they wanted to assimilate to the men's game of hockey. They played with men's skates. They played, like you say, they didn't want the rules changed for them, but that to me was cool. And again, I think we had just tremendous, both on the women's and the men's side. I remember Anne Louise Emmanuel. How was that for a name from Dorval, who was just a tremendous hockey player. And but can you take, even if it's 30 seconds a minute, and reflect on those days? I'm assuming you went to our varsity games in Dorval High, Dorval Arena. By the way, Dorval Arena, Bremerton Ice Arena was designed around Dorval Arena. By the way,
I feel very comfortable there.
But you've been there,
and we walked to the arena.
Sure, you played there. Reflect on that a little bit. And seriously, I want this mainly reflect just for clinical memories. If you remember any of us on the varsity men's hockey team, Dorval High, there were legendary guys, Bruce Montgomery and stuff. Bobby Logan, eventually, who wasn't my class, but he went to the NHL. But can you reflect back? Did you ever go to our varsity games, of course, or the junior B games on Friday night? I'll turn the mic over to you here.
Yeah,
Wendy.
junior B. Can't say I went to the varsity games. Yeah, I was just interested in other things. I played the game myself, but never really went to the varsity games. But definitely very proud of the people who made the NHL from our area and who continue to. And I have some stories about that, about seeing now people that my children went to school with make the NHL. And now one of them's even part of the broadcast team for, it might be TNT, possibly. And all of a sudden, when you see the name flash across the screen and you go, oh my God, that's Jason Demers. He used to come into the library at Senior, and we could barely see him over the desk. That's
the beauty about the decades is I knew like little beat reporters back in especially in Bremerton and stuff, but even in Montreal, and they were just kids, these little cub reporters. Yeah. And I know one right now who's a ESPN reporter for Fox Sports.
So I think what this really signifies is no matter where you come from, no matter your background, you've got a dream. You follow it, you can be it. And this is across the board for anybody. Yeah. Not just.
Shout out to Eric Williams. His name's Eric Williams. Wonderful guy from Bremerton. He was a beat reporter, sports reporter. Big guy out of the covering the San Diego Chargers. Eric Williams, follow him. And it's funny because we all go back to some old conversations because he covered Bremerton Ice Arena. But he knew that sports. Right. So it was fun. So back to you on that, Wen.
Yeah, I know we want to get to some other things, but kind of a final story coming down here into the States. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and thinking when I moved down here, I would be, the pioneer of women's hockey. Well, it was well established down here, but this was already 2006. So I was able to, jump into a league that was established and start playing hockey. And I said earlier to Greg, my claim to fame is that I've actually played a game on what is now the Lenovo Center. So it just got rebranded this year. It was the PNC Arena where the Hurricanes play. And when I played in about 2008, it was the RBC Center. So we actually had a tournament game on an official.
What did that feel like? Because I played on the old Forum ice and played with Gretzky in Glendale, Arizona, and stuff. What did that?
Okay, feel like? It was just us ladies playing hockey with 60 people in the stands. But to walk in the same entrance that the players walk in, it's not fancy. To be in the dressing rooms where these players play and to skate out on the ice and look up and the immensity of the stands, they seem to just go on forever. Now, like I said, there weren't many people in them, but you're just sort of in awe. But when the game actually starts, the ice is the same size as what we were used to playing on. It was the first game of a tournament. It was all business, and we played our game, but everything behind the bench was a lot bigger. The space between the boards and the bench, we all looked at it and said, there's no way we're going to be able to hop over the boards without landing flat on our face on the ice. And even with our skates, we were like little kids. Our feet didn't touch.
But the thrill of it in Pee Wee hockey, here we go. We're going to get to like some real meat and potatoes here. We're going to let Wendy really show her smarts on something. But hey, it's Greg's show, so we can talk hockey, eh? But
Well, you
anyhow,
can
we
rest.
will go. Remember, the beauty here is, I know you, depending on your schedule back there, Wendy, you're in Raleigh, North Carolina. The two other people on the screen are in beautiful sunny Arizona. But I definitely want to get to your amazing story and evolution of where you are today and what you're educating people on. It's huge. And what it is, it's an evolution from a year ago. And it's also an evolution from about 3 days ago, where you and I did a 2-hour intensive analysis and study about, of course, you call it curriculum. You're forever the best student in the world. We all wake up in kindergarten every day. But I will definitely I want to turn it back to you. The evolution is, you analyzed me because you and I happen to be the same type. And so if you can take, it's impossible to summarize a 2-hour conversation, but in like maybe a couple of minutes, where that conversation was, because it really created this show. And Miss Val, our military radio Val, we're going to include you too in the show here today. But take a quick minute. You remember that you basically analyzed me, which was, and I'm just going to say, 65 years old. I thought I knew quite a bit about life. I don't really read self-help and motivational stuff because I can write that stuff and train that stuff now. But you took me to kindergarten. This is going to be an absolutely, I'm going to say, stunning show, especially for Miss Val up there. But I'm going to turn it really just straight to you, actually to you, Val. Okay, back to you. To just kind of do the Val Olson intro of Wendy. Let's get meat and potatoes of this. We'll definitely have Wendy take a minute or two and reflect on that past conversation about that previous behavior type, for no better word. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, so for those of you that are joining the show, we want to welcome our guest this morning, and you are in for a real treat, because Wendy has a way of just kind of like decoding stuff. And when I read through I would call it probably profiling at a real human level, and you're going to learn a lot of stuff that you'll probably be able to relate to, and you're going to want to go deeper into for yourself. So I'm kind of the guinea pig this morning, and Greg is too. We're going to just let Wendy take the first layer off and do her thing. Sit back, listen, and enjoy. And I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, Wendy. And I can't wait to put Greg under the microscope.
Okay, well, thank you, both of you. So to kick this right off, yes, I am a student. Curriculum is the right word. So I am in the process of studying this system and working towards being certified so I can help people use this human design system to better understand. It's not profiling, but better understand how they're designed to operate, how they're best designed to use their energy, make decisions, assimilate information, what work environments are they best suited to. So what I did with Greg was walk through 6 steps in this process of uncovering how he uniquely is designed to operate in this world. Because it's not a personality test. It's not about changing who you are. It's actually giving you the permission to be who you're meant to be, to pursue what makes you happy, what's going to make your life full. And when you're leading a full and happy life, then you're better able to be a contribution to not only your family, your colleagues, but humanity in general. So I'm very passionate about helping people to find their true path in this life and giving them permission to be who they are, and to know how to make the best decisions, to meet less resistance, to have things flow in their life, to be understood better, to understand themselves better, to attract the right kinds of opportunities. Because we all know how, there's so much coming at us, and how do we decide what's right for us? So these are some of the things that this system can help me look at your chart and help you and guide you along with this kind of human operating system. Greg, you have any feedback on what you learned from our 2 hours?
Boy, just saw way too much for just 1 or 2 points. What I
In
took
general.
from
Because you said you thought you knew yourself. So I want people to understand it's really like I said, unveiling how you best operate,
right,
and helping you understand maybe some of your past behaviors. So
right.
turn it back to you.
What I'll have you do is I'll do once again. I love it when you talk about me. It's just great. It's just
That's
great.
the beauty of this system. Everybody wants to know about themselves, and
But,
Val is sitting there itching to know.
Oh, Val will get her turn. Don't you worry about a thing, right? But do take a second. We were talking. Basically, there's 4 large categories. I'm going to be really elementary here, but we were talking about initiators. You're an initiator. I'm an initiator, and you really drill down on that. The interesting thing about your analysis, and I just call it analysis, everybody, is unlike horoscopes. Okay, people love horoscopes and secrets like that. People love stuff about them that applies to them, even listeners and readers and people that are going to watch this. So what I loved is your curriculum speaks directly to the person who's wanting to absorb new information. Some people don't care, Wendy. They don't care. They don't need new information. They know it all. Hire a teenager while they still know it all. But with you, what I loved, and this is what I got, and I'm telling you, at 65 years old, I've written curriculum in the past and trained on it. But I learned that the cool thing about this is that I'm just going to say deeply scientific, because very clinical. And it allowed you to reflect on your past. Everything we reflect on and second guess ourselves. And oh, goodness gracious, but to actually be able to look back on that, and as I've always said, just analyze it, be aware of it, and you run it off of kind of a grid framework of understanding. So you can analyze your past, but then see how it applies to today, and what do you do actually today moving forward. I joke, everything from taking out the garbage to watching Jordan Peterson, whatever. But kind of back to you on that. If you can review just quickly, maybe a 1 or 2 minute on the initiator thing, and nail down maybe kind of a summary checkpoint of what that means. I love those summary. I just love some of your internal materials. It's just as far as the knowledge that you bring as a student, Wendy. So, back to you on that, quick about that. And then let's just go meat and potatoes of what it's going to be really a lot of you and Val today, because we are going to Secret from the Inside. We're going to analyze Val today.
Okay,
live.
Seeing as Greg wants to know about him, we'll talk about him
That's
first.
right.
Okay, Val, you're good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Yeah. So, as Greg mentioned, in the human design system, there are 4 career types, starting with initiators. So they're 8% of the population. I'm an initiator, so is Greg. So we're here to get the ball rolling. We don't need people to spark us. We create the spark. We work very independently. There's a lot more I'm going to go into as we go through, but just on the high level, the next type is really the advisors, and Val is one of those. They represent 22% of the population. They're here to master processes. They're our guides, our teachers. They love to master something and then guide us on how to improve our processes. And then we have builders. And there's 2 types of builders, but when you put them both together, they're 70% of the world. So they're the ones with the energy to get the things done. When they're doing something that they love and loving what they do, they can go all day and nothing feels better to them than to crash into bed at night, fully satisfied that they've used all their energy doing something they love. And then there's a 1% of the population. We call those the evaluators. So they're here to actually tell us how well we're doing or not. So very rare kind of type in this world. And in, perfect scenario, and what I'm studying right now is to actually take this information and apply it to career, to business, to leadership. So it can be applied on a personal level, but what we're doing is looking at solving problems, people's problems of not being in the right job, not communicating properly, not feeling good in a team, wanting to work solo, not knowing why they're meeting resistance. So we can take this system, starting with what type you are. As I mentioned, initiators, we're very independent. We don't like to be controlled. We don't like to be told what to do. We can work on our own. Then we move to, the builders. They need to respond to things. So in the perfect world, we get the ball up and rolling, and then those builders are there to go, 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 go. And then we bring in Val. You're pointing at me there, Greg.
No, one quick thing that I took from, and then let's get to Val, but one quick thing was of that category, seriously, was if you don't do it, nobody will. For an initiator, that if again, initiator has to know that they're the one indeed that does get the ball rolling, but if you don't do it, no one will. Your dreams in your head or whatever can happen. Well, and then let's get on to Val too. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I'll just add a quick note to that is, unless you understand how you're best designed to operate, typically initiators like you and me will end up working like builders. And so will an advisor like Val. First of all, the builders are the biggest part of the population. And, we're so conditioned now that if you're not working 60 hours a week and 7 days a week and, build that dream and go, go, go. But we're not designed as initiators and as advisors. We don't have that energy to work. So we get very burnt out doing it. So we really are here as initiators just to get things up and running, and then we come up with the next great idea. So now as advisors, once we have the builders, just go, go, going, now it's up to the advisors. They'll come in and they'll look at the process because they've already mastered what those builders are doing, and they're here to guide us. How can we do this better? How can we improve the process? They love nothing more than being asked, what do you think about the way we're doing this or how things are going? So when they have that invitation and somebody is actually reaching out to them because they recognize that this advisor knows what they're doing and probably can unlock some secrets, there's that word, unlock some secrets to how we can improve the process, that's when our advisors can really shine. And then we have the evaluators who can see everything that's going on from a very high level. What might be wrong with the idea that the initiators brought to the table, what's wrong about maybe how the builders, or what's right about how the builders or anybody is doing things. And then the process improvement, how can we maybe reflect on that and see how everything is working together. So very rare type, you're not going to bump into them all the time. Right. But in the perfect world, you want to have an evaluator in your organization.
Who, Wendy, who evaluators only what, 1%?
Correct.
What is an example of 2024 an evaluator that publicly? Well, is that an Elon Musk? What is that?
No, he's an express builder. So when I said there was two types of builders, there's classic builders or what we call step-by-step builders. These are the people that they'll go like the tortoise, step by step. They'll make the finish line. The express builder is going to see how we can go from A to Z quickest, and they might miss some steps. And sometimes they don't hit the finish line because they get distracted. They're very good at starting a lot of things. Doesn't really bother them if things fail and they don't actually fulfill what they're doing. They are meant to manifest and bring to life a lot of ideas, and they'll have the energy as well. So I believe he's a manifesting generator. Look at all, the companies. He's got one barely off the ground, and, he's off looking at something else. Whether, it's viable, whether it lives, That
Did
doesn't matter.
anyone hear that Elon Musk landed a rocket ship and it was caught in mechanical arms? Wendy, you and I used to watch black and white TV of Neil Armstrong in the old days. Look at
Yeah.
this stuff now, and I encourage younger generations to not take technology for granted. Okay, I just had to intervene there once again in my own show, digressing. Back to you, Wendy. Tepley, IT Wendy.
Okay, so I can quickly go through some of the presentation that I did with you. And this is you, Val. This is you as an advisor. So, uniqueness is your birthright, and each of us has a unique design. And our unique design isn't always conscious. It could be unconsciously broadcasting who we are, even non-verbally. So I think we've all experienced this. Somebody is in the room or you're talking to them, their body language, the tone. You're picking up on this from other people and you're projecting it as well. And it's even energy, because we are energetic beings. So think of this unconscious, nonverbal communication. That's what you, oops, I'm trying to advance my slides here. There we go. Yeah, like I said, we're still studying this. So there we go. Give me a break.
Yeah, I
There
find
we
it so interesting. Yeah, it's you're right. When you come into a room and I've heard this example where you think people are talking about you, and you don't know what was said, but you kind of get that feeling, and then next thing you know, you're almost carrying that, projecting it to others. So it's true that nonverbal presence is really important.
Right. And it's what you're broadcasting. So the extent that you're actually
Right.
in alignment with your human design, it determines how clear your communication is, both, professionally and
Yes.
personally. And that clarity of communication is going to shape the way you see the world and the way you experience it. So think of, that communication that you're broadcasting to people. So there's two ways you can be broadcasting: clear communication or static. So think of when you're talking on a cell phone and somebody's got poor connection and you're only hearing every second word. It's really easy, first of all, to misunderstand them, to dismiss them. It's not interesting. You want to hang up on them, or you're listening to a radio station that keeps going in and out. That's static. So different than if you have a great connection with somebody and the conversation can flow, there's less resistance, they understand you, you understand them. So when you're not in alignment with your design, your communication, what you're non-verbally putting out, is going to be sending out static. And when you're in alignment with your design, what you're sending out is clear communication. So operating in alignment with your design will actually attract what's right for you, and not being in alignment is going to attract what's not right for you. I know we all have these, like, how come this keeps happening to me? Why? These big questions of why are these things happening to me? Why do I always, attract the wrong opportunity, the wrong person? This starts unlocking, as you understand your design, of how you're operating and what you're communicating. So this is a really, important piece to understand your design and how, when you start looking at how you make decisions and how you communicate and even how you work, whether you're delivering static or clear communication. And I know I shared your design with you earlier, so you're an advisor. There's certain things in your chart that we look at that tell us this is how you are designed to operate. And the way you're best designed to make a decision is waiting for recognition. So that's the advisor piece. It doesn't work if you initiate like us and see something and you want to jump in and you want to right away impart that knowledge. You're probably going to meet a lot of resistance. Your communication won't be clear. So you need to wait for that recognition and an invitation to come in and impart your knowledge. But when you're making decisions, one of the things that's crucial to your particular design is waiting for clarity, because you make decisions from the center or the function in your design that's called the emotional intelligence. So it operates in waves, and you should never make a decision from an emotional high or emotional low. So when an opportunity and you're being recognized and invited in, the way for you to determine whether that's the right invitation is really to wait for clarity, sleep on it, give yourself some time. Don't make your decisions in the moment. So when you think about that and decisions you've made in the past, which are impulsive, which have been maybe conditioned by people pressuring you, having their own agenda, you probably can reflect back and see times where you've ended up in situations or made decisions that you regret later. And it has been because you haven't waited for that clarity. Anything
I
sort of?
think so much. Sorry.
Quick little monologue. Take as long as you need here. Kind of summarize what Wendy's talked about. I can't imagine what's on your mind today because you've reviewed some of the information. Go ahead, just summarize kind of how you feel so far, about what Wendy's talked about, and just going from there as far as your dialogue. It's great, really great stuff so far.
Well, I want to welcome our listeners who are joining right now. Heather is on, and Heather knows me really well, so I bet you she's finding this interesting too. I think the recognition and invitation part of what Wendy's talking about, no matter who you are, I think you can relate to that wherever I look at when you're in a career path and it doesn't feel right anymore. And I think regardless of what generation you are, anyone can relate to that when it just doesn't feel right. You don't enjoy it like you used to. And that's what I find fascinating about this is for me to be recognized and not to proceed until there's an invitation. You told me that a year ago to wait and watch for those parts. And it's a lot of freedom in that, I find. The more that you understand how you work with others and what you're looking for, it really, really helps to know your strengths and your weaknesses. So I've watched for those opportunities more so in the last year. And it's true. It helps you identify what you're uncomfortable with, what you're really, people around you will throw things at you all the time. Do this, do that. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should partake in whatever. But by having a core understanding of your strengths and your weaknesses really make a difference, and it helps you balance everything from the home zone to the professional zone. So out of everything, this is one of my favorite parts. So take it away, Wendy.
You are an excellent student, Val, because no matter how deep this goes, we always come back to following your decision-making strategy. No matter what piece of your design you're looking at, it always comes back to making that decision. And it's timing too. It's making that correct decision at the correct time. So as advisors, yours is that, waiting to be recognized and invited in. For Greg and I as initiators, we're supposed to initiate, go make it happen. There's different ways that we know the decision is right. We both have what we call splenic authority or survival instincts. So we're trusting our instincts. So it's a very different mechanism. And when Greg said, this is very scientific, it is very mechanical at its very basis, but it is a very mechanical way that all of us make decisions because they're made in our body. Your mind is not the place to make your decisions. We all have body intelligence, and I know you're going to hear that word more and more as we're hearing emotional intelligence. We're going to hear body intelligence start to hit the mainstream of how we're best designed to make decisions. So that intuitive decision-making strategy that Greg and I have, it's very quiet. It comes in the moment and it's gone. So we have to practice listening for it. And when we get that intuitive hit, we've got to act on it and initiate, because that's what we do. So we're not waiting for something to respond to, like the builders. They need to be asked questions, yes or no. They need to respond to something they see. That is the only way they know the decision that they're making for themselves is right, is by responding to something. It's not the way, don't ask an initiator, if we want steak or spaghetti for supper. Doesn't work for us. To say, what do you want for supper? Because we're going to know, we're going to get that little intuitive hit, and we're going to know and hone in exactly. And there we go. We're in the car already. we're going for the steak. Sorry, Greg, we're going for steak. Um, you know, so with somebody like the advisors, yeah, yours is the invitation, the recognition, the invitation, and then you've got to wait for clarity. Not all advisors have that. There's different ways they need to make decisions. I think there's actually 5 different ways. They're probably the most complex decision-making type in human design. Builders are basically, they've got to trust their gut. And then some of them do have to wait for that emotional clarity, wait for clarity, but they're very mechanical. And then evaluators, 1% of the population, they've got to wait. This always throws these people 28 days because their decision making actually follows the phases of the moon. And we won't get into all of that. If we continue these conversations about where this system came from, I may have given you a little hint right there. But recognizing how you make decisions and starting to practice with it in your life, because this is an experiment. This is not we're going to hand you this guide and, you're going to be able to follow it. We've all been conditioned, and we're continually conditioned, not only from our past, but where we are right now, the environment that you're in, and different types get conditioned in different ways. So it's really a living experiment to, trust your body, trust your decision-making strategy, practice with it, and see what starts to come to your life. And then, evaluate, was that right? And how did I make that decision? What environment was I in? What were the influences of that? Because this can go really, really deep in layers, but we just touch on, some of the basics of it when I do what I did for Greg yesterday and what we're going over with you today. So getting back to
Wendy,
you.
yeah.
Greg.
Always keep that train of thought because I'll never remember it, right? But quick question. What do people do today, including Val Olson? What do people do today, depending on their type, boots on the ground activities and ways of thought, kind of from this day moving forward? In other words, who are your students going to be? I'm one of your students for since the 1970s. Val has become one of your students. You're the best teacher I ever met, other than my mom, right?
Well,
Nancy Meekin in Dorval, Quebec. But go ahead. Back to you.
The teachers and the guides are the advisors. The initiators. It's not what we're designed to do. So, but it doesn't mean I can't teach it. There's other things in my design that are allowing me to, first of all, take in this information and be able to communicate it out. And what I'm really looking to do by pursuing this is to help people with their careers, whether they're transitioning, whether they're coming out of college and they've got this degree and they're not really sure what they're going to do with it, to people who are in the workforce, not happy with where they are or not happy with a certain aspect of what they're doing. We look at teams, small teams, 3 to 5. So what I'm going to be learning is how to take a team of 3 to 5 people and do an analysis of all of their designs together and see where the gaps are. And we don't really talk about strengths and weaknesses. We're looking at the strengths and how do we build on those strengths? How do we solve the problem of why maybe this group is not functioning as dynamically as it could? Or why does it function really well for a while and then it doesn't? It comes off the tracks. There's ways for us.
What would your advice, Wendy Tepley, be to Val Olson? Her being a investigative journalist extraordinaire, 43 and a half years old. Here we go. But what would your advice to her moving forward? And before I forget, because we'll do this too before the end, please let people know where they can find your work or contact you. I know you're a personal contact person, so definitely take as long as you need, and then we'll obviously start to go into the back third of our show. Go for it.
Yeah, well, that's it. The thing of what I'm doing, it's not just to say, this is you and, good luck with it. It's I really want to know where you're struggling, what your challenges are, what you want to learn about yourself, or how you want to make better decisions about where you're going. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at. What are the challenges and how can we find solutions to them using the human design system, looking at working solo, working in a partnership. We can take two charts, put them together, and see how those partnerships complement each other, where there might be gaps, how to work with that partner. And then in the small group, 3 to 5, and then we also look at large groups, 9 people to 16. And the dynamics are very different of what comes into play in the human design system. So depending on what, Val's challenges right now, I would help her find solutions to those. Or if, like, you, Greg, we didn't have an agenda of something really needing to be fixed, but at the end of the 2 hours, you really reflected back on your past, how possibly you made decisions, how you reacted in certain situations where you weren't in alignment, where you as an initiator maybe felt anger. And that's really a
It
signpost.
changed my life, Wendy, to interrupt. It changed my life. Never mind just listen to it. We did 2 hours and 15 minutes of
Right.
dialogue. And I'm saying to Val, it can change your life. I'm just saying to anyone who's an eventual blessed student of Wendy Tepley, it's going to change your life. Because it really did. And it had me look back on stuff, for example, anger versus peace.
Mhm.
Hello?
Those are, we have, signposts that let each type know when they're on track, aligned with their design, living according to their decision-making strategy. So for initiators, when we feel peace, we know that we've made the decisions with the decision-making strategy that's right for us. We're initiating things. We're not waiting for things to come towards us. As advisors, your signposts are going to be success. So when you're recognized, invited in, and you've waited to make the right decision, that is the right opportunity, you're going to feel success. You won't have that resistance. So it naturally follows that you're going to feel successful. And when you don't, you're going to feel disappointment when you're off track and you've made that wrong decision, or you're not in the right environment for you, right working environment. So there's signposts that we can look at. And you'll actually hear people use those words. And sometimes I can pick up on them. And before I even look at a chart, say, I bet you, this is the type they are. And that's just the starting point of the type. But it is, if you live in alignment with your type and your decision-making strategy and the way you're meant to interact, wait for recognition and be invited in for the advisors, use your decision-making strategy, and then watch whether you're on track or off track. Are you feeling success? Or are you feeling disappointment? For the builders, they're going to feel satisfaction when they've responded to the right thing and they're doing what they love and loving what they do. And when they don't, they're going to be frustrated. And I always like to give this little story because the builders being 70% of the population, it's the majority of the workforce. And most people are not doing what they love and loving what they do. So we have a lot of frustrated people out there. And then you put the advisors, the 22% on top of that, and the 8% of us initiators all trying to be like builders because their energy is very magnetic. We get sucked into that we've got to be working like them. And then you've got us initiators being angry or resentful. And we've got you advisors being disappointed.
What will a student,
we can fix it all.
what will one of your students, and take a minute here too, Wendy, remember this is long form radio, we finish whenever we finish. What will your students, assuming, because I'm blessed to really have been able to call or text or email you on a moment's notice, with which any of your quote customers or students or colleagues or mentees can do. You take a minute and say, if I contact you, and I'm saying, okay, Wendy, what are you basically going to be offering? What are you going to be doing? What's in it for me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, being as vague as you like, just an overview, seriously, because I'm assuming rollouts and things officially start. But the cool thing about it, you can contact you right now. That's really rare in this era. We can contact you right now. So just take a minute and stuff. What will I get? What's the kind of stuff that you'll be offering? This is just amazing, amazing information. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll just start out saying that I am the student, because there are programs to get certified as a teacher of this system. That's not going to be something I'm pursuing. I'm pursuing the certification as a consultant. So once I have that certification completed, which will be in July, I'll be consulting. But right now, what I'm doing as part of the program I'm in is doing some overviews with people to practice what I know, to get better at what I'm doing. So I am the student and you guys are the guinea pigs, if you want to look at it that way. But with the knowledge that I've gained in the last year, and I'm actually pretty stoked that Val remembers things that I said last year and that they've held true, is really, again, addressing what issues people are having. And if in their jobs, their careers, even in their family life too, because this applies to family, the way you make decisions in business, you need to be making the decisions the same way when it comes to your personal life. So, we look at what is your career type. So right out of the gate, you're going to know, am I meant to go out and make it happen? Am I meant to be more in the mentor, guide, teacher? You're an advisor. Am I the builder? Am I the one to get things done and do all the doing? Or that rare case, evaluators. So you're going to find out what type you are and what that means for how you are meant to do things in this world, how you're meant to express yourself in this world. And then we're going to look at your personal interaction style. So, how are you best designed to interact with people? Is it that, waiting for an invitation and recognition? Is it going out and making it happen? Is it responding to things? And then we're always going to build back in, what are you broadcasting? Is that clear communication or static? And then we're going to, look at how you make decisions. Really, really important to grasp that concept and practice it. So things can go so much deeper, but these basics of how you're designed to express yourself in the world, how you're designed to interact, how you're designed to make decisions. We're going to go into how you best integrate and process information, and we'll move on to that after this, because there are very different ways that people process and integrate information. And then how are you designed to work in different environments, from being solo to being in a partnership, small group or large group. And that's what I ran through with Greg. And like I said, without there being any major issues or looking for, I don't think you're looking for a career change, but it really is eye-opening, and that helps you look back again, professionally and personally, at how you've been operating and how maybe you've been attracting the wrong opportunities or meeting resistance, and start experimenting with doing things a little bit different and see it. This is tried and true stuff. It will start making a huge difference in your life. But then, if there are instances where you're, looking for a new career, even looking whether I'm having trouble leading my team, we can look at your chart and understand where those challenges may be coming from and offer some solutions to those issues. So it's going to be looking at your strengths. Said this earlier, it's not going to be looking at the weaknesses in the chart, because there are no weaknesses in your chart. There are only strengths, but we make ourselves usually wrong for those strengths because they seem to be like too personal. So we're gonna allow you to be who you are, and the weaknesses that you perceive, we're going to show you that is not part of your design. One of my favorite sayings right now is, stay in your lane, which is really hard to stay in your lane. It's not your job. And I did that for many years, work like the builders and not be the one to initiate, just to take it all and feel resentful for it, and get caught in that super loop. So, everybody has some challenges with the way they're dealing with their life, with people, even with the world in general. This world is so complex and chaotic. How can I help you simplify your life with understanding who you are and what's not you? That's not you. Why are you always focusing on things that aren't you? Because we're conditioned. we're conditioned by so many things, even by what we see on TV. It doesn't have to be somebody you're sitting shoulder to shoulder with or in your family. We get conditioned with how we're told we should be acting. And in this day of, social media and being bombarded with influencers and everything, you can see where, this is even more important. And I'll digress just a little bit here too about how we're moving into what we call the era of the individual. We've been in the era of planning for the last 400 years, which has allowed us to build all these great institutions. I use great, maybe I should put quotes around it, from education to governments to all this foundational stuff. But it's been very controlling, and now we're moving out of that. That's been all that builder energy that's allowed us to build this. So we're moving into an era of the individual, and you can see this with people needing that fulfillment in their job and not being happy to not be doing what they love and loving what they do, or initiating or being recognized. So people are really starting to understand what self-empowerment is, and actually being truly happy in their life, and taking back their own authority, making their own decisions, trusting themselves. We put so much trust in this era of planning and these institutions, and you can see people are not happy with what's happened by handing over their authority and their control and their trust. So just to let you know, it is coming to an end, and that's usually when things really accelerate. That there's going to be that shift. So you just have to start talking this stuff to people on any level. It doesn't have to be, that sort of spiritual or in depth. You talk about anything that's in the news. You talk about how they're doing in their work, in their studies, in their family life, and you are going to find things that human design can help them understand better.
That's so interesting. I love it. And it's so easy. It doesn't matter, who you are, you can relate to that. And I find a lot of people they can't describe it exactly, but they're trying to find another hobby to fill their time, to figure out, if I can find the right hobby, then I'm going to be happy. They're looking for something, they don't know what they're looking for. And it just helps to unpack a little bit, learning at a deeper level, some of your strengths. And me being an advisor, you really do have to wait for that invitation. And when you don't know that, so if you take me, it wasn't until a year ago when you shared, you have to wait for that invitation. That really set me on you're right. An advisor is someone who offers advice, offers solutions, but you can't just arrive on scene and just start broadcasting it. You have to wait until you are recognized, and then you can go forward with it. So just that simple little tweak in my day-to-day has made a big difference. And there's not just advisors, there's all these different categories. So I know people are probably wanting to get in touch with you and learn more how they can apply this or read your work. Where can we learn more about your work and follow you on social media, Wendy?
Yeah. Well, the quickest way is really just to email me. I'm not really doing much on social media with this just yet. There's just too much information, and it's very much a personalized approach. So I love to talk to people. So if people want to email me, it's Wendy J Tepley at Gmail, and I answer very quickly. So that's your best way to get in touch with me. And I'll reach out to you and set a time that we can talk. This is stuff that can be done virtually. So that's one of the beauties of it. So if you have questions about what you would get out of it, or how it could help you, or clarify any of it, I'd be happy to further the conversation. It just helps me understand this material a whole lot better. The more charts that I look at, the better equipped I am to help everybody.
How about some of the pitfalls? Let's talk about some of the pitfalls, because Greg Greg wants to jump in here.
He's got his hand up.
That was a good one. Pitfalls. No, I'll just turn it right back to you. That's a great question.
Okay, so each type has pitfalls, and it's usually they usually occur when you let your mind start making the decisions, and your mind starts looking at this and that, and I should, and maybe I shouldn't. You know, your mind is your outer authority. It's not your inner authority. So for you as an advisor, when you start not knowing when enough is enough and burning yourself out, you know, that's a pitfall for you as an advisor, trying to get attention and being perceived as needy or demanding. So again, that's not waiting for that invitation and, you know, just barging in. You will be perceived as pushy and needy. And I have experienced that. This is well before I knew who anybody was or what, but man, when somebody okay, there I'm back. So especially when you do that,
You're back.
I went to an initiator, you know, of stepping in and telling us how to do something when I didn't ask you. Yeah, that's needy or demanding. So if you start getting that kind of reaction from people, or you're feeling starved for attention or energy and settling for the wrong kind of energy, it's a pitfall for an advisor. Not letting go when a relationship has ended. There's that neediness, needing to, I need to help people. And you're trying to make things happen, you know, not waiting for the invitation or getting attached to an outcome you think you want, again, or allowing your mind to make the decisions and not trusting your decision-making strategy. You know, so yeah,
I really liked, Wendy, when you shared what it's like when you're trapped in your mind, because as an advisor, which we're focusing on right now, you tend to be you're always in your head and you're thinking and you're planning, but there can be a pitfall to being trapped in your mind too when it comes to making decisions. Can you go a little
right.
bit more into that?
Yeah, for sure. So like I said, your mind is not the place for us to make our decisions contrary to popular belief. So your mind is great at observing, learning, and taking in information, but it can often second guess your true decision-making strategy because it operates in that binary. It's this or it's that. So it doesn't really incorporate who you are holistically as an individual, and it likes to make up lies and stories. Our minds, this is for everybody. This isn't just for Val. This is not pick on Val Day. Our minds do this no matter what type you are. So if you're out there and you don't know if you're an advisor or initiator, listen up. This applies to all of us. And our mind operates out of fear for survival. Think about that. The decisions you've made out of fear for survival. And it's under the pressure sometimes to prove yourself, to avoid confrontation, to be certain. How many times do you use your mind to be certain about something and then jump in and do something? You know, it's under pressure to be in a hurry. Got to make that decision fast, you know, or do what others say you should do or what you think you should do. So those are all the things when you start having those little conversations with yourself, that's your mind trying to keep you safe, trying to, you know, make the decision for you, trying to, you know, make up stories. You know, any of those, you know, that you haven't listened to your body intelligence of how you make decisions.
And Wendy and Val, want to backload this a little bit and not forget. I remember I can remember like 64 and a half years ago, but I can't remember how I started a sentence, right? You know, that phase in life. Anywho, Wendy, between you and Val, take a quick second, and I'm going to need you to tell a secret that you've never said publicly. And
Me?
Yep. Oh yeah. And you can even pass like password, and I need Val to do the same thing. I don't think we formally did that today. The first secret Val ever revealed was that she was a publisher at, I think, 9 years old, and she published Chatelaine magazine out of, I believe, Saskatchewan. Don't hold that against her. But
Chatelaine or Val.
right,
There's a copyright on Chatelaine. So I just want to make that clear with Chatelaine or Val.
Right. So Chatelaine gave her her first copyright ban at 9 years old. So that wasn't a great little secret. We've told others, but and it can be innocuous, whatever. And then I'm going to have Val tell her secret of the
Well,
day. And
I'm
go ahead. And then whenever. Just
trying to
hurry up.
remember you doing. I think you did this last year, and I might say the same secret, which means it's not really a secret. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a black belt in karate. So a lot of people don't realize that. I'm very proud, got my black belt at 48. So this
Are
isn't
you
a black
telling
belt
me,
when I was 7.
Wendy Tepley, are you telling me that between me and my high school buddy Ralph Bard, who's a real buddy of mine, and he was a major belt. Derek Gatehouse is a multi-dan black belt. Are you telling me that you could kick my ass? Is that what you're saying?
Probably still could, yeah. Watch out.
That's a great secret. Does anything apply to your life? Did you ever have to use it or whatever? Quick little story there, but that's a great
No.
secret. The secret is watch out for Wendy Tepley. She'll kick your butt. I love it.
You know, it's really a mindset now. I haven't practiced for a lot of years. But when you walk with the confidence of a black belt, whether I could really kick somebody's butt and win, I could kick their butt. I might not win, but I feel I still walk with that confidence of knowing that I have done it. And I bet you if I had to do it again, watch out.
It's so
Oh, I
funny. Here's
love
the
it.
name out of the blue. Wendy. Bob Brannigan.
Yes.
Again, all of us back then, we were all pretty, shall we say, assertive jock type guys. And Brannigan was always taller than me. He was a dear friend, and he's a smart guy. He's done really well in life. But Bob, I think I'll challenge him on this. I think I scared him a little bit, because here's what I used to say to him. I'd say, you know what? You'll probably kick my butt, but you'll be bleeding, dude. So,
I want to ask
anyhow,
Wendy a quick question. So you commented that your walk changed, that you walk with a confidence. So take us to that moment when you knew that it clicked and your walk changed and what that was like.
I think I remember that minute. And it wasn't so much that I realized it, but my sensei saw it in me, because he wouldn't have you test for your black belt until he knew you were ready. And he said, "You're ready." And I asked him, like, is it written on my face? And it's when you don't back down. Somebody's going to challenge you in a fight. It's in the dojo. It's not walking in the back alley. And you actually welcome it. And I still have that. I can still feel that in my body, that, okay, come on, let's go for it. So it's that confidence of knowing that if somebody challenges you, you're up for it. You actually look forward to it, because up until that point, you don't. You go, it's gonna hurt. But
Do you ever have to reset and go back to that? Are there ever times when, say, you like pull out of your specific wiring and you have to come back to almost rebuild yourself back up, like a reset, and remember, that's right, I can walk with that confidence. I have it inside of me.
I'm gonna say no. It's in there. Yeah, it's in there still with me. Now, I don't challenge it. I don't walk down dark alleyways. You end up being smart about it. And in karate, it was not about looking for the fight, because if you are in a fight, you're not looking to prolong it. A long fight's like 2.5 seconds. You hit and you get out. It's not a street brawl. It's not a free for all. It's self-defense. You hit, and then they taught us how to get out of there too. So
Very cool. So we were talking about decision-making strategy, and I want to come back to that. And staying within, for me, I'm an advisor. So we're talking about an advisor and using that decision-making strategy. Anything you can go into there?
just going through my notes here. It is waiting quietly.
The patience part for. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm interrupting. The
No, I
patience
think
part.
you're on the same one. Waiting quietly for that recognition and that invitation, and it requires patience. and careful observation and trust. So,
Let's take our time there and unpack that,
yeah,
because I think that's really important. Oftentimes, we'll get a little bit of knowledge or something that, oh, that sounds like me, and we don't take the time to absorb it. And I find like I need to just take a minute. I need to absorb. I need to try it on. I need to see how this fits into the puzzle. And I'm the type of person, I will really push hard on all sides to get that puzzle piece in there until I know I can feel it. It's a perfect fit. So, can you link kind of like that advisor and why feel is so important, how those two are attached?
yeah, that's the mastery that all advisors are looking for. They're looking, like you say, for that perfect piece to fit in the puzzle. They're looking at the process. What is that missing piece? What's the missing link? How do we improve upon it? So it is very much a mastery, and that's when you have mastered whatever that is, that skill, that process. That's when the recognition is going to come quietly. It's not you going out and saying, "Look at this," I know how to do this. You will attract those opportunities, but it is a mastery of a system. And not being an advisor, I don't quite like, I understand the words, but I don't understand that drive to master things. It's something that advisors have. So maybe you can maybe explain a little bit, maybe using some other words. Those are the words we tend to use to describe how advisors operate. But what is that what does that mastery mean to you? Because it's daunting to me, mastery. I don't understand it.
I guess I don't really look at it as a mastery. It's very multi-dimensional. It involves all of your senses, and it's more than just, yeah, being in your head. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, but it's also, I think, the ability to be able to see down the road a little bit and see pitfalls. And I also kind of describe it as, you said stay in your lane, and when I stay in my lane, I have two legs going at the same time. So I'm always seeing the good and the bad play out at the same time, and I kind of come down the middle, and that helps kind of weave things together. And it can be perceived maybe at times as being negative if it's something that a team doesn't want to hear. But I think it's important to have a good balance of both sides. And I'm learning that is a strength. And when I was a kid, I used to watch a commercial on TV, and I always thought of the exact opposite thing. Or what are they not telling us? If they're telling us this, what are they not telling us? And so I just apply that to almost everything I do. I'm thinking of both sides of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I love secrets, but I don't receive a lot of secrets or surprises because I'm already thinking full picture on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, you see big picture. So you're going to see, you know, what's going right, what's not going right. So it's not always about just coming in and blowing things out of the water because you know best, but it's having that ability to guide us. So think of it as, guiding us as to what we need to do to keep things going, to improve upon things, what we've built, how can we improve it? That's where the advisors come in. So it's maybe not necessarily a mastery, but it's that big picture overview. You guys can see that, what's happened in the past, what needs to happen in the future. Where is that missing link or that puzzle piece to make this full, to be a masterful, whatever it is, process, team.
Yes, and it's a step. I think. Oh,
Wendy and Val, look at that. I never interrupt, and when I do, it's worth it, right? But but please tell me, and I'm going to turn it back to you. And Val, you have lots of stuff to say, and you're a spiritual gal, and you've connected amazing with Wendy. But Wendy, take a quick second, and are you able to, if I am let's just say a future student of yours, of your incredible curriculum. Incredible. Like I say, forget horoscopes, okay? Forget it. We got Wendy's program. But can I expect, or maybe a consumer down the road expect like one-on-one consultation from you, like on screen, like it is right now? Because I've learned so much. Wake up in kindergarten every day, as I say. Every time I listen to you, and every time I listen to Val, I learn something. You've taught me a bunch today, and but take it. Will that kind of be in your wheelhouse, in your arsenal down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what our role, or my role, will be when I'm certified to be a consultant, is to do that one-on-one, or even working in groups. I'm interested in the group part of it too. So it will be that, looking at what your challenges are and finding those solutions based on this system. So in all its forms, I'll be looking at leadership analysis next in 2 semesters. We look at leadership analysis, the alpha leader. So, big group dynamics, small group dynamics, partnerships. It's really interesting when you can put 2 charts together and
What
start to
was
see
am-
where
what was
there's
am-
electromagnetic, where there's compromise.
right?
Yeah.
What was amazing to me, and please relate it back to Val here. Um, it's such an important dynamic, is groups and partnerships. I told you this. I once talked to a really high-end CEO out in California, who I worked for many years ago. He had hired me, and and dude, I think, yeah, it was a time when I had hair, Wendy. I was like 31 and a half years old. Three-piece suit, baby. We've done those meetings before with the USO and stuff. We've done
Yeah.
those three-piece suit, baby meetings. I don't even own a tie now. I'm retired. I wore a sports jacket the other day, and it just felt like the weirdest thing in the world. I felt like I had a life jacket on. Anyhow, digressing once again, right? It's my show, right, Wendy? Secrets from the Inside is not a democracy. It is a dictatorship, and Greg Meekin's the dictator, right? So, in terms of group, I asked Michael Lennon. I said, Michael, I don't do partnerships. I don't play well with others. I don't do. Every time I get human beings involved, starting at about one or two of them, it blows up because everybody wants to be. Everyone, there's so many people out there, Wendy, that will let their ship go down because they want to be the captain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Michael Lennon took me aside, and I'm not sure what his net worth is or was, but I think it has a B in front of it. And he said, Greg, life is a partnership. Whether you're a lone wolf or not. And by the way, he told me I was going to be a real good CEO someday. Was he ever wrong on that? But he said, life is a partnership. You have to interact with other human beings, whether you're at the most tribal level or you're at the boardroom level.
But
And
yeah, that's why knowing this information is so important, because how are you designed to interact with people? We're
how
all
would you
designed
relate it
different.
to Val? How would you relate it to Val, saying, "Okay, Val, you're such and such, and this is how you'll work best in groups." This is getting into her wheelhouse here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have, we do look at that as to there's certain aspects in human design that make people more comfortable. Anybody can work in any environment, but is it ideal for you? Are you going to be comfortable in that environment? Oh my goodness, the lights just went out here. Wonder what
That's okay.
happened. It's okay.
We
It's
can
not a
still hear
power
you.
failure, obviously. I don't know if
It's
somebody's trying
almost
to.
Halloween.
I know. So this is
Wendy,
really
you look
odd.
great.
Just a second.
Let's use that for future shows, Val. That's a great look. I love it.
Yeah. Let me just stop my camera for a second here, and I'll go figure out my lighting situation.
While
If I-
she's doing her lighting, Greg, I wanna jump in with something that she was talking about that I found really interesting. So some of the, with an advisor, which is what we're talking about today, wait for recognition, invitation, and then when you are waiting for those 2 steps, that can be a real game changer. I think for anybody, you don't just have to be an advisor, but sometimes if you maybe feel unappreciated or is your opinion, are people hearing it? Are they recognizing it? Do they find value in what you're saying? And if the answer is no, maybe you shouldn't be there, and that's why you're hitting some, roadblocks. And that was one of the big things for me that Wendy had shared a year ago. She mentioned, like, I said, how do you do this? How do you find that right balance? When you're in a professional environment, like take my background in journalism, not everybody is ready to hear advice. And I think this could be a game changer for the media. So I'm going to just touch there. Here, Wendy is back. Wendy, I'm going to, there we go. Okay. So I wanted just to touch on what you were sharing and bring that, apply it, I guess would be a better word, apply it to the media. Because as someone who's spent many years in mainstream media, I can kind of analyze and see some of the problems and why, I found it wasn't the right fit for me to stay in that environment. And when you're dealing with news and information, it's very, very important that you have balance, that you do have people that have the ability to see all sides of a situation. Or what ends up happening is you get top heavy and you end up with just one person's opinion, and it can really very fast become a dictatorship. You want to make sure that all angles and sides and discussions are happening. And so I think when it comes to advisors, this could be something that we see more of, maybe reintegrate or go back into that mainstream flow of information, because it really is a foundation or a bedrock to a country. I'll just start big scale here and say, if a country doesn't have access to all information or have voices or points of opinion, good or bad, it's a very slippery slope. And without that freedom of speech and freedom of press, you don't have freedom of speech without freedom of press. So a lot of people don't recognize those two things go hand in hand, because if you take out your freedom of press, they are oftentimes your last points of defense of someone standing up and saying or speaking what maybe perhaps you're too scared to say behind closed doors. So I think that freedom of press is so important, and applying some of these, tips and ways to analyze a situation that you're sharing could be a real game changer for our mainstream media. So I hope that we're going to see you in the future, Wendy, come into that stream, because we could really use some of your expertise.
Yeah, I think things are slowly shifting, so that the people who need to stand up and speak will, and it'll be the correct time, and they'll speak for the right reasons, because we are entering that era where people are going to take back their own authority. So maybe where you feel you've been hitting your head, and things are just too much autocratic, big government, big business, the right voices are not being heard. They will start to be heard, and it's going to start on an individual level. And the institutions are going to start breaking down, and people will take back their own authority. It's going to take a lot of years, because it took us a lot of years to get to the point we are, but it's going to start with the individual, and understanding, who they are and what they stand up for. And there's, things in people's designs that do speak to those higher principles. So when they understand that this is really part of who they are, they can use that strength and feel empowered by it, rather than, I never thought I should stand up and say these things, or why when I say them, they're not landing. We can start looking at their design of how they're meant to operate and interact with people, and get them better aligned. So when they do stand up and they use that strength of higher principles, they use it correctly. They use it in the right situations, where it's going to have its most impact. And there's, different layers in your design. We have something that's called public role. That's the costume you wear. That's kind of, when you're on the world stage, the day-to-day stage, it's the costume you wear. It's kind of like, how you are meant to sort of pursue your work. And there's everything from being, the authority to the messenger, to the influencer, to the role model, to the pioneer. So understanding those parts of your design as well, and how you're meant to show up in the world and pursue your life work. What is your life work? What is your purpose here? These are things that go further than these 6 starting steps that we're looking at today. But when we go through the whole analysis, we will look at, your shadows and your wisdom. Where do those show up in your chart? What is your life work? What are you here for? Mine is service. Goes deep, deep, deep. But we all have a life purpose. I have a public role, so I'm a pioneer messenger. Pioneer part is kind of messy. It's a trial and error type of way I learn things. And then the messenger is somebody here to be a stranger of consequence, to make an impact with the words and what I say. So I think it's a, perfect fit for me with the trial and error way of going about my life and learning things. Like, there is no failure. It's all an experiment. And then being able to have that impact of my words. So that's that pioneer messenger. So we can look at your public role and, make you feel more comfortable in the way you do things. Another piece that we get into in this preliminary sort of overview is looking at how you assimilate information, because we all process and integrate information differently. And for Val, you're like Greg and myself, it's an independent assimilation. So you can integrate and process information very quickly, very independently. You don't loop and bring it all together. So there's other people who are collaborative, and there's different forms of being collaborative, but those are people that do need that being in the presence of others, bouncing things off others. It's the way they're going to process. They're going to look at it maybe from a lot more angles and go a lot deeper before they process all the information. So it could drive people like you, me, and Greg pretty nuts, because it's black and white kind of to us. We've seen it, we read it, we processed it, we move on. But other people will keep going back over and over, and then sometimes it starts getting us to second guess whether maybe I should slow down and change the way I assimilate information. And I did that for many, many years, thinking there was something wrong with me. Like, why can't I be like other people who seem to question the heck out of things? So knowing that some people, that's the way they're designed to process information, and there's different other ways, synthesizing, needing to move in and out of different environments during the day, and be with many groups of people. So you start understanding, if you have those people within your group, don't confine them to sitting in like long group meetings. They need to be moving around between groups and people for them to actually process and integrate information. So I think it's important for people to know how they process information and how others do. And then, like I said, we look at, solo environment. Are you going to be comfortable there? Do you need to be interacting with people? Looking at your assimilation type is a big part of it, because if you move really quickly and process information, groups might feel really slow for you, and larger groups as well. Looking at, what your type is. Initiators, very independent, don't want to be told what to do. Get us into small groups.
As soon as I think I'm going to pre-wrap or wrap, then Wendy challenges
Yeah, but
me.
but these are the last.
Yeah,
We're almost at the end. I just wanted to make sure, we went through all of the basis of this initial looking at somebody's design and helping them live according to their type and their decision-making strategy, and how they.
How is your time, Wendy? How is your time? I know it's 3 hours past, ahead of us.
Well, yes, it's just after noon here. So yeah, I should wind this up maybe in the next 10 minutes. So
perfect.
15 after the hour. If you folks are good.
That'll give me just enough time to listen to myself.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
I think I'm
No, this is great. Quick, first kind of bullet points here. Number one, quick shout out, seriously, to you and me, to all the older people, I know so many people in their 60s that are just blossoming right now into careers that they would have liked since being senior in high school. If I told you, Wendy, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that I'd be sitting live on air, this literally might go out to as many as 70 countries. That I'd be sitting live on air, and honestly, me, the old guy, I'm saying I'm just glad I'm alive. I lost so many friends and relatives and stuff. So because a lot of people in this I'm concerned about, because I've been there before, a lot of people just give up, and I get it. I just totally get it. But shout out and shout out that you literally are starting and launching a whole new life. Call it the back nine or the last third, whatever it is. I feel very blessed to be over 60. Over 60, you're relevant, whether you deserve it or not. You know, think Bob Dole, or John McCain in running for president. Anyhow, we won't go there. Anywho, I won't even make one Kamala Harris joke today. How behaved is that? But I'm gonna have Val, if anything that's burning in your heart. Believe it or not, we've been hour and a half. I can't believe where's the time go, eh? But anything that's burning in your heart, I'm going to give a fast before I finish up. Shout out to, literally, I don't mean to go back to it, but it's just amazing how it's blossomed in the last year or so. This Dorval High School connection. Shout out to JB Wiley, man. JB Wiley, I wrote about him years ago, 2018. And he's become a stand-up comedian and now a book author. JB Wiley.
Yeah, I'm editing his book right now, so I'll plug that too, and I will have it wound up for him on the weekend. And I've learned a lot of things that I never knew went on at Dorval.
It's great. I mean, it's great. And so again, usually, and what I love, I will say that, and I'm going to start doing this. I'm going to do a product called a prelogy, where you write a tribute to someone while they're still alive rather than a eulogy. And now, believe it or not, it's getting in vogue with, video, life history and stuff, and the kind of things that I do on YouTube with, but we won't go there yet. We'll keep that for a product down the road. But so shout out to everybody. I told a lot of people out there, again, this is kind of forever a side note, told a lot of people out there, of all generations, and I mean big people like the Sheriff Mark Lambs and Captain James McCormick and those guys and stuff. I said, we're all brand new brands. Everybody's less than 2 years old as a brand because of COVID. The entire world shut down. The world shut down for me. I couldn't walk. Everybody knows the story, the blown out right hip because of playing too much hockey. And honestly, Wendy, I think half of us survived and thrived, and I think half of us gave up. Honestly, and or are not with us anymore. Yeah, we got a handful of people just in this last year, and you just go, whoa.
I think there's a lot of people are just hanging on too.
Sure.
It's not just that everybody who survived is thriving. I think that's an important distinction.
Sure. So I put us in that category, Val, and I'm going to do, believe it or not, I'm going to do finally an outro or an extra, whatever you do, probably in a few minutes, 5 minutes or whatever. But Val, anything that's burning on your heart, as far as just this show, previous show, IT Wendy, as her code name is here, has become part of our circle of trust. She's an SRF, a stark raving fan. I can't believe you asked me what an SRF was like a couple of weeks ago, Wendy.
Yeah.
I published on that in the mid 90s, talked about aging us, right? SRF, stark raving fans. Don't look for just satisfied customers. It's very boring. Get stark raving fans who have a passion about your brand, and they'll sell 200 cars for you. Anyhow, but Val, anything that's on your heart, and before I indeed finish, I'm going to do a quick little Dorval High shout out again, just to a few people. I just can't, Diane Williams edited my book. You're editing JB Wiley's book. I just can't believe how cool the people are from 1976 Dorval High School. And I swear, I've said this before, I know people say that, I think we were a really special class. I mean, we've got Dr. Surgeon in Paris, France. We've got Hollywood people. We had NHL people. We had #1 soccer team, in high school after me and Ralph, the year after me and Ralph, who were, I think, Canadian champions. Just really
Wow.
cool. And now we have Wendy Tepley. You were a shy, quiet gal in high school. That's my secret, right?
Okay.
Really shy and quiet, really studious, very studious. Probably were you head of like the yearbook club or something?
I was treasurer of student council when JB was president
Wow, how
that
cool!
year, and I ran all the grad stuff. And
You
then I
did
did
this.
our first reunion, I did our second reunion, and I'm getting the ball rolling on the third, but I'm not meant to do all the work. I know that now. I initiated all of you. Go make the reunion happen.
50-year anniversary in
Yes,
2025.
2026.
Are you kidding me? Let me pinch myself and then let me thank
Yeah.
God that I got out and woke up and stood up straight this morning. Once again,
Hold
Val.
on. When is the reunion? When?
2026. So probably over for the Canadians listening, Victoria Day weekend.
Yep. And you know what I'd say? You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to do like a pre-show, like a pre-party. We do that like anytime, in case we don't make it to 2026.
Well, there's some good ideas there.
Val.
I want to thank you. Yeah, I want to thank you both because I feel that, time is the ultimate, like when you give of your time and you take your time, you can't put a price tag on that. So I so appreciate everything that each of you are doing to help me understand all of this and just, become a better citizen and hopefully be the best I can be in whatever pathway I'm taking. And I know my guests that are listening are loving this. And I have to tell you, I would love to just dig into the stats of Dorval High because I've come to know and love and have a real deep appreciation for DHS. But there is an abnormal amount of people that went on to do some amazing things from DHS, and I've even looked into some other high schools just because I thought, well, maybe my high school just didn't produce like Dorval High, but there seems to be a real just huge number of big achievers, global scale that have come from DHS. So it's a real privilege that you guys have kind of like taken me under your wing and are imparting some wisdom and knowledge. And I really, truly appreciate it. So thank you both.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate being on again. And hopefully it won't be another 365 days.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that amazing? I have a funny feeling there's going to be a follow-up to this show. By the way, JB Wiley shouts out to us. The quick shout, Diane Williams, of course. Here we go, right? But just Mary Abbott. The great group is If You Grew Up in Dorval. It's the only. I don't belong to any groups anymore, Wendy. I think I told you that after being hacked in August. I just don't. But Dorval High is the only one I am. Love and trust forever. But Mary Abbott, Dominic Shampa, I call her Dom, the swimmer. She's swimming. She's in her 60s and she's swimming like 47 miles every Sunday or something amazing. The old. I mean, seriously. I just can't believe it. How many nice people there are, and that we both go back with. We'll have to do another show. We don't want to get a violin going here or Greg getting teary.
The Kleenex box.
Do you know? It's so funny. So funny.
Got to wind this up, Greg.
Oh yes. I will. Val, if you keep me on track. Oh my God, it's true. I'll just do my outro here, and I'll leave it up to Val. Just this little secrets from the inside. It's episode 22 on October 22nd. Everybody, wake up in kindergarten every day. There is so much to learn, and so little time. Because before you know it, you're in grade 1. There you go. Back to you, Val, and thank you, Wendy. I'm gone, and you guys wrap the show. Thank you.
Okay, Wendy, did you have any closing words? Anything you want to share with our guests before you leave?
No, I just really appreciate this opportunity to, impart the knowledge and the wisdom that I have so far, and invite everybody to join me on the journey. It starts one person at a time, understanding ourselves, and will help us understand the world better.
All right, that was wonderful. Today was great, and I hope it's not going to be another 365 days. Yeah. We need to catch up soon. So thanks again, Wendy, for taking the time today and joining us. All right, that is Secrets from the Inside, episode 0022. Today's guest, Wendy Tepley. And for you listening and joining the show today, thank you so much. Don't forget, Greg's book is available, limited time only. You can have it in your hands. $5. So go on his website, gregmeekin.com, and you can pick it up there, or you can go on amazon.com, search for Greg Meekin, and you can get it there as well. So thank you for joining the show today, and have a wonderful rest of your week, everyone.